Hello, I'm Matt Runia from the Runia Financial Group. PSI Incorporated recently asked us to figure out which contract is best suited for their company to increase their revenue and increase their net income. Now, some quick facts and an overview about this lease is between you and G Incorporated. There are 3 levels of office space, and the lease term is 10 years. The issue arises when determining how much money is to be received for the lease and when. G initially proposed that they will pay $5,000 for the first 3 years of the lease and $10,000 the next 7. You guys are thinking that maybe earning $10,000 in the first year and $9,000 the second year, $8,000 in the third year, and decreasing by $1,000 increments until year 1, where you're only earning $1,000 on the lease, would be more beneficial for you. So it's our job to determine which one would best benefit your net income and your revenue. And to start, we need to figure out what type of lease it is. To do that, we're going to need to look at some of the language in the lease. So, to start, in the lease, there was never any mention of a transfer of ownership. There was no bargain purchase option mentioned. The life of the asset will surely continue after the lease is up because it's office space. It's not going to all of a sudden become worthless. It's going to retain its value. And there's no value guarantee at the end. So from this, we can determine that it's an operating lease. But it does have uneven lease payments no matter which contract you decide to go with. And so because of that, you need to look at the ASC, and the ASC tells us that these lease payments need to be in a straight line method. They need to be recorded in a straight line method. So every year you're recording the same amount of asset to your balance sheet. Unless there's a systematic and rational basis that is more representative. And in this case, there doesn't appear to be any real rational reason why. It just appears if you guys want it because you think it's going to work out better for your company, and G wants their way because it would benefit them the most. So you can't opt out of this. So how do we record this straight line? Well, it's pretty simple. Over the course of G's proposed contract, you guys will be receiving $85,000 over 10 years. So you divide that by 10 and subtract whatever you received that year. So in the first year under G's contract, you guys are only receiving $5,000. So you need to make up $3,500 worth of asset. And so we put that in a lease receivable account to average out the $85,000. And over the course of 10 years, that lease receivable account should be 0 because some years you're going to have more, you're going to receive more because you're receiving so much in the back end and so little on the front end. Whereas on the other hand, with your contract proposal, you're receiving too much in the front end, so you need to reduce your asset, and we did that by putting an unearned revenue account of $4,500. Again, this will adjust to the point where it won't be around at the 10th year. It should equal out to 0. So just a raw comparison here. Under G's contract, you're earning $85,000 revenue, whereas under yours, you're earning $30,000 less with $55,000. And a more deep dive into this, you guys never said that you would want to buy an asset or use this money for anything. This money is purely up to your discretion of how to use it. You don't have any real needs for it right now. And so our group thought you're not going to just leave it in the bank earning 0.5% of interest. You're probably going to invest it for at least the full 10 years. So we calculated out the inflation for the full 10 years and the compound interest that would earn if you would earn 4% on your investment. So that first year, that $5,000, if you kept that for all 10 years, you would lose about $1,000 worth of value due to inflation because you guys just left it sitting around. And the U.S. economy inflates their currency by about 2% a year. And then if you would invest it at earning a 4% rate, which is very reasonable, 6 to 8 is usually the standard. So 4% is more than reasonable. And that $7,401 figure is if you would leave that $5,000 in there for all 10 years, earn an average of 4% on it per year. And then that next number If you put another $5,000 in it at the end, if you leave that in for the 9 years, on top of leaving the first principal payment in there for 10 years, you would have $17,401, and so on, totaling at the end $106,000. Now, for the contract you proposed, where you receive so much more money up front, you're losing more to inflation early on and less in the back end, obviously. And you're going to earn a lot more compound interest because you're receiving so much money up front. You're receiving that $10,000 right away, so that's a full 10 years to accrue 4% interest every year on top of each other. Whereas in G's proposed contract, you're only getting that $5,000 for the first 3 years. So those are some of the pros and cons when it comes to investing and just sitting on this money, which is what we assume you're probably going to do with it. And so just for the raw comparison, G's contract, you're going to get $30,000 more in revenue without investing, without counting inflation or anything. $30,000 more in revenue. Your assets are going to increase $3,000 more per year under G. Your inflation is $1,000 more, but considering it's only $1,000 more, it is a win for G because you're earning $30,000 more in revenue. It's because you get that money so much later that it doesn't have as much time to lose value. But you also lose compound interest, which is where PSI's contract makes up some ground. You earn $2,000 more compound interest despite having $30,000 less of revenue coming in. And when you add in the compound interest, subtract out inflation, PSI's contract still comes short. It's about $26,000 compared to G's, which is a lot of money. And considering you guys don't have anything to do with it, that kind of leads us to a conclusion of what we recommend you guys should do. We recommend taking G's contract for that sole reason. You don't have anything really you want to do with this money. You don't have any needs you need to address, or at least that you have come forth with us. So it makes sense to take that $26,000 extra of money from this contract at the end of the 10 years and use that and invest that. So that's our presentation. Thank you for listening. We hope you found our advice useful. We hope to talk to you in the future.